Welcome to Five Dive, where we take a 5-minute deep dive into startup tactics with the experts. Today we have Teri Spiteri. She is head of marketing over at Switch. Welcome to Five Dive. How about you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me, first of all. So I'm Teri. I joined Switch just under 5 years ago. In my current role, I head the marketing team, which has grown quite a bit since I joined. Actually, it's quite funny because when I joined Switch, we were a two-man band in the digital arm of things. Switch was still a very traditional agency, but we decided to focus purely on digital for a while. And since then we've grown a lot. So it's obviously adapting to what's happening out in the industry. So.
Okay, and I can see like a lot of those key metrics probably fall into, the two sides that you deal with at a digital and brand agency. So you've got like the tactical conversion-based advertising. You're trying to push for a specific metric. And then you've got the brand building campaigns, which could push for maybe a different type of metric. How do you combine these effectively for clients?
For me, especially working at Switch, it's always very easy to remember. You need to go back to brand. The brand in the sense of, the ways of old, the traditional sense of brand. We need to maintain that. We need to keep that in mind because it's being eaten away, especially in the local, in Maltese digital marketing efforts. Because we need to remember that what it is that makes great brands. So I was listening to a podcast recently and they actually said the phrase, you need to be spectacular for a few and not average for many. And I thought that was a very neat way, succinct way of putting it, is that if you think to all the greatest brands in, currently out there and doing an excellent job on digital, especially, take Nike, for example, it's a $16 billion company or whatever, but they never, since they started, they never wavered from the fact that they are creating products for athletes. So they're not targeting yoga moms or kids or school kids or whatever. They're targeting athletes, but they've identified that niche audience, but then they do that so well and so clearly and so innovatively that then they are sort of the beacon in the fitness industry, and then everyone wants to buy into what that stands for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and it's the same with all the best brands in the world, if you think about it. So they all identify their niche audience. They identify who are the few that they are going to be spectacular for. And then they push that. And then once they have that niche audience on their side and they have their raving fans, then that will work for you. And that will build your own reputation, your business and your name, and it will grow and more people will join. But that's how they manage to do that, is they target that niche well. And then that spreads from there, as opposed to trying to hit everyone, and then that's never going to work out for you.
Awesome. I know that you co-published a piece that was called Digital is Human, and I think that's, goes over this exact concept, leveraging data-driven tools, but also, sticking to, the traditional methods of building a brand and connecting with people in human ways.
Exactly. We always try to keep in mind, this two things that we always say is that, engagement is more important than scale, actually engaging those individual humans that you're trying to reach. And impact is more important than impressions, because if you're just showing people your brand name and showing people your logo, then that's impressions, and that's fine. You're seeing big numbers, and maybe as a client or as a marketer, you're excited to see that millions of people are seeing your brand, but whether it's actually impactful is very different. It's a very different story. And I feel like, don't get me wrong, I love digital marketing, but I feel like this is something we really need to be aware of, because I think that because of the advancements in digital marketing, we're losing what it means to be a marketer.
Right.
And
that's true.
And I don't say that because I'm precious about like marketers as a breed. After all, when I joined the marketing industry, I joined purposefully, like only to be digital marketing focused. So it's not something that I can say I miss personally, but I really feel like the landscape of marketing from, when these great brands started out and how it was before digital is now shifting very quickly to a state where it's very data-driven, which is a good thing, but sometimes not necessarily a good thing, because we're currently getting a new generation of marketers who are only focused on, testing and learning through testing and split testing and number crunching, and it always has to be very metrics and analytics focused, which is great, but we're sometimes losing touch with honing that intuition that used to make the great marketers. I mean, Mad Men, take Mad Men for instance, right? I mean, we're way past that, thankfully.
Right.
But I'm constantly obsessed with listening to and finding, listening to the great traditional marketers who are taught to really deeply sniff out and understand every sort of like underpinning of the culture of the people that we're trying to reach. Because
Right.
once you understand your consumer and you have that intuition and that instinct, then you'll know where the consumer might move to in the market and how you can preempt that and how you can shift the market to, it was a very, very impressive skill, which we're now losing, I feel, because everyone's just logging into their favorite analytics platform and just seeing what they can do to rake in more numbers. So I myself am consciously aware that I have to try and balance the two. And I really try to cultivate that skill set, that, that honing and that instinct of how to really market things properly, but also then balancing that with taking advantage of all the great tools that we have at our disposal. So I think that going forward, we're going to be very balanced. We should try to be very balanced. So we're going to be very left-brained and right-brained. Together, marketers, I think those are going to be the greatest marketers, and the brands that make use of those marketers are going to be the most successful in the coming years, because we're going to have to be able to make really data-driven decisions. So we need those skills on the one hand, but on the other hand, we need to be, we need to have that instinct, and that art and science can go together in a way that will make excellent brand actions going forward. That's what I think right now. I don't know if that makes sense to you or if I'm rambling on. But,
No, that's awesome. Teri, thanks so much. I mean, that is a really good insight in terms of understanding like the transformation that's happening within the marketing space. And I think the way you put it, it's a blend of art and science.
Yeah, I really feel that.
Awesome. Teri, thanks so much. It was a pleasure having you on Five Dive.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.